Majdi, thanks for taking this time to chat. Could you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Magdi Amin. I run African Renaissance Partners. I'm a managing partner there. It's a venture capital firm that invests in seed stage tech-enabled startups in Africa. We focus on Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Uganda.
My first question, when you do hiring for your portfolio companies, what kind of skills you are looking for, especially in the new grad technologies?
Right. So, like I said, we're focusing on tech startups. So they need good developers. They need people who understand how to solve problems. Oftentimes, a company needs to pivot several times. So how do you develop requirements and how do you code that? How do you design? How do you develop a roadmap that takes into account customer feedback and improves? You need leaders, soft skills, people know how to solve problems, work together. You need CFOs, you need people who can build business. So there's a range, but at the heart of these companies is tech.
Technological skills are still very relevant even if we have a generative AI?
Yes, no. I think, I don't see generative AI as replacing, but it becomes a tool. You need to use it. You still have to be able to think through problems. You still need to be able to prompt and query it. It may do some of the coding, but then you just need to raise your skills to a higher level, using that to supplement yourself, your own strengths.
Mm-hmm. When we look at the unsuccessful companies, we can actually recognize some common mistakes. So when we are going on a path to success, it is also somehow avoiding those mistakes.
Right.
And when you look at the Africa ecosystem, for the companies that are at the seed funding stage, that are at the beginning of their journey, what kind of common mistakes do you observe?
Well, there's mistakes at the ecosystem level. Sometimes a lot of people come in with financing or in a way that doesn't create businesses, that might actually distort businesses. So that's one thing. Secondly, we see oftentimes companies that don't pivot in response to market signals. Sometimes the founders are so believe in their technology that they're not willing to flex or compromise or change. You have to have a vision of the solution and understanding of the client feedback in order to keep, you have a vision of the end goal, but you may need to be flexible on the way. And sometimes we see particularly very technically strong founders, but they're less good at building that product market fit.
We know that the African market is not the easiest when it comes to ecosystem circumstances.
Right.
And today's economic circumstances in the global arena is also not doing really well.
Right.
So how do you think early stage startups can navigate such tough times in Africa?
So we had in, let's say, 2020 and 2021, it was easier to raise capital, and a lot of companies raised. And then there's been a decline since then, especially when interest rates rose. It became, the risk appetite decreased and people moved their money into risk-bearing instruments. But I think things are changing now. We're starting to see interest rates coming down in the second half of the year. I expect them to come down. Some risk appetite coming back. There were lots of companies funded during the bubble that will still be closing, but now is a great time actually to invest. I think the market, the timing is good if you're starting now, but now you can't rely on hype. You need to rely on good, strong, capable firms that have good economic fundamentals, they generate some cash, that actually have product market fit. Pay attention to the unit economics. But in the end, there is a very, very dynamic market. Africa will be the center of global economic growth for a long time. The countries we focus on in East Africa are all growing at 6% to 7%. By 2050, Africa will have 40% of the global workforce. 800 million people will become workers in this 2 decades. These people need jobs. And it's not going to be governments or even big companies. It'll be entrepreneurs that create that growth.
Very true. And at A2SB, we provide high-quality tech education for free for many young African high-potential university students.
Right.
And like, what do you think that African diaspora can do to help organizations like ours?
So first of all, a lot of the founders of companies that we look at, and some of them that we invest in, are started by diaspora who have come back and started to become entrepreneurs. There's a lot of diaspora that invest in funds like ours that then invest in companies in Africa. I think the diaspora can also be a source of talent and skills. So there's a lot of African diaspora in the biggest institutions, biggest companies, the tech firms here. You know, I've met people in Netflix and in Google and in Meta and everywhere else, so that really can be role models, but also an opportunity to create a transfer of skills as mentors, as guidance, also as a network, because often in career you network your way into jobs. So I think just to be open and available to mentor and link and connect African youth who have skills and talent is very important.
All right, my last question.
Sure.
What are the key characteristics that you are looking for in your potential founders?
Well, I'm looking for somebody who's passionate about solving problems. Somebody who has skills, whether it be technical or managerial, otherwise, that can be converted into a sustainable business. People who can be really, really sensitive to the market and to customers and take feedback well, to be coachable. And then finally, the most important for me is high integrity. They have to be people who are trustworthy, who will take resources from others and really create something valuable, or at least honestly try to do that over time. Integrity is number one, passionate about solving problems, and then technical skills.
Well, thank you so much for your answers. This was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.